Okay, so I am going to today play the file or play the game Our Life Beginnings and Always. So we're gonna go new file. Would you like gameplay explanation sections to appear? For this first time, yes. Okay. Our Life tutorial time. Welcome to Our Life Beginnings and Always. There are various ways you can customize and interact with the game. This tutorial is an overview of how certain features work. You can read the full tutorial from the main menu to learn about everything in detail. To start off, the game is divided into 4 time periods called steps. Step 1, childhood. Step 2, adolescence. Step 3, young adulthood. And Step 4, adulthood. Our life is further divided into sets of vignettes that take place during specific periods of time. Those are called moments. Moments can be played in any order or skipped entirely. You move on the next step whenever you want by selecting the summer that summer is ending. Steps 1 through 3 include 5 moments each, and even more can be unlocked by purchasing DLCs. Some are out now and other DLCs will release later on. Step 4 is an epilogue and doesn't include moments. A lot happens over the years that go by, especially in regard to the character you play as. You determine nearly everything about the main character: name, appearance, personality, pronouns, interests, skills, their relationship with major characters, and so on. You can decide to change the details as time goes on, with few exceptions. Your last name, skin tone, and eye color can't be altered once set. Much of the main C's basic traits are determined on a character creation screen. As the MC grows up, more options become available on the screen. As mentioned, one of the decisions you get to make for your character is selecting a name. You can type in any name you like, or you can pick a preset name. Preset options are called voice names because the name will be voiced out loud by the romantic lead. You'll get to hear him say your name as you play through the story. Only the default name Jamie is included in the base game. Hundreds more can be added by getting a free voice name expansion DLC. The full collection of names is separated out as a DLC because of how large it is. If you're not interested in that feature, you don't need to get it. Each name in the DLC belongs to or was selected by someone who supported this project. On the character creation screen, there's a cute doll you can decorate to get an idea of what your main character looks like with the different traits put together. Not all the things you decide about the MC appear on the doll. The script referencing what you've decided for the MC is the main way those decisions influence the game. Our life has a first-person perspective, so your character doesn't appear next to other character sprites. You only see the main character as the decorative doll and in special cut CG images. The cut in CG only appear if certain choices are made. It's possible not to see any during a playthrough. There's also a second type of special MC-based screen, the interest comfort screen. Unless you get DLCs, the game is one love interest, Cove Holden. He grows up with the MC, and the interest and comfort screen is crucial for determining how that plays out. Interest level sets how much you like him. There are 4 levels: disinterest, fond, crush, and love. Love is only available starting in step 3, and if you were at fond or crush in step 2. Comfort determines how you generally think when it comes to him. There are 3 levels: nervous, relaxed, and direct. Your level of interest and comfort will set the type of dynamic your character has with the love interest. What you did in the past will influence the present, and feelings can change over time. You get to pick your interest comfort near the beginning of every step. Comfort can switch between the 3 levels as you please. Your interest level can only stay the same or increase. Your current level of interest will become the new lowest option on the screen in the future. For example, if you decide to be fond in step 1, disinterest will not be available on the screen in steps 2 and 3, which will make fond the bottom level option for your relationship. Interest level has an impact when it comes to physically interacting with Cove. While growing up, things are rather simple. If you get along with one another and have a close relationship, you can choose to touch him, and Cove will occasionally interact with the MC in lighthearted and comforting ways. But starting in step 3, touching can become more romantic or suggestive if you're at crush or love. To make sure things go nicely with that, there will be an extra choice to determine initiative level and a bonus mini tutorial that goes along with the choice to explain the feature in more detail. Basically, even if you decide you like Cove, the game won't force you to act on those feelings. You can always choose not to get together with him, choose not to accept or give romantic gestures, etc. If you do decide to date Cove, though, you can't break up with him later. Interest comfort gets the basics down, but it's choices that appear throughout the normal game events that decide what actually happens between the MC and Cove. And it isn't only the MC who's impacted by your decisions. Cove grows and changes over the years. How he's treated and what he experiences help shape who he becomes. In step 2 and 3, Cove's personality, appearance, and interest will vary based on what happened in the previous step. It's something of a mystery exactly how your decisions end up changing him. You can try to guess as you go along. Or if you prefer, you can also just design your own ideal Cove directly using Cove Creator option that pops up at the beginning of steps 2 and 3. Making the choices you want is always more important than making a choice because you feel like you have to in order to get a certain result. When a choice does appear, usually you'll see that hovering the cursor over an option shows a certain color, yellow, blue, or green. The colors aren't related to specific points or effects, they're only there to give a bit of insight on the tone and emotion of the choice, since text alone can potentially be read in more than one way. Blue tends to be casual, straightforward, yellow more emotive and reactive, and green less certain and uncommitted. Though there are hundreds of options in our life and not every choice menu falls in line with that pattern. Picking just one color every time doesn't give a gameplay benefit. Only stick to a certain type if that's what you happen to like. Otherwise, switch between them freely. Always pick yellow, never pick yellow. Pursue romance right from the start. Never romance the love interest. Be disagreeable or amiable. None of them will lead to a bad ending. You're welcome to enjoy the events and shape the story without reservation. And then if you like, you can play again to try something new. There's only ever more good content to discover. We hope you'll have a nice time with our life. Thank you for playing. So let's go face shape. Chubby, pointed, oval. Let's go with oval. Skin tone. Let's go with peachy. Eye shape, brown. Let's go with oval one. Eye color, let's go with pink. Let's go with green. Hair front. Let's go with let's do that for hair front. Oh, let's go hair front color. Let's make it pink. Hair back. Let's go pulled back, smooth, choppy, curled, flowy, short, medium, ponytail. Let's go ponytail. 1, ponytail 2. Let's go ponytail 2. Hair back color. So let's make let's make the hair back color blonde. So make the front pink and let's make the back blonde. And let's go ponytail one. There we go. We'll do ponytail one like that. Okay. Let's go into voice names. Let's go with let's go with let's go with Kira. Yes. Let's make Clara's last name. Let her last name be Amigos. Okay. Okay, so let's make her Caramicos, and I think that's what we did for that one. Okay. Yeah, okay. Braided front. Do I want a braided front? Let's try braided front. Oh, strands look good. Let's go with strands there. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go with strands. All right. We'll go with rosy cheeks. Do we want to give her freckles? Yeah, let's give her some freckles. All right, let's give her a birthmark and let's give her freckles. But we won't give her any freckles on her nose. Well, yeah, let's give her some freckles. No, freckles would be more for red. All right, so we give her rosy cheeks and we give her birthmark. Okay, no glasses. So we're not going to give her any glasses. Okay. So let's give her a birthmark on her arm. Clothing type. Okay. So she likes skirts. Okay, she likes all. She likes bracelets, necklaces, watches, and hats. Okay, so, alright, so we're going to give her all of the above for those. Okay. Okay, so we're done now. Alright. Okay, I didn't give her freckles. Alright, so let's click done. Summer in Sunsetburg was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. Now that's a pretty building. I love the scenery in this game. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included people. Families came and went from Sunsetburg, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Now there's 3 choices: blue, yellow, and green. So you didn't really get why they always had to say hi. They saw you every day, but you nodded back at them anyway. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones, or you were too anxious to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all knew you well enough to expect that. Let's go with yellow. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunsetburg was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your mom's had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. Let's go with blue this time. You hadn't exactly been listening at the time. You think it could be okay to talk to new people, but you weren't sure about this man yet. But you were pretty interested. You wanted to know about more what was going on. You slowed down, your eyes remaining fixed on the man. There was a split second where your eyes met and you knew he was aware he wasn't alone on the street anymore. Hey. You raised your eyebrows at the shout. Did he want something? Is that why he was here? The man stood up and started to make his way towards you. Not wanting, still unsure about him but willing to be friendly, you offered the stranger a smile. The man gives a grin of his own back. Do you live around here? What's your name? You looked at the man up and down, taking in his tan skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes are relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. I live right there. My name is Kira. Great, nice to meet you, Kira. He gave you a broad smile, relief settling on his face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. He gave you a broad smile. Relief settling on his face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand and he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him.
Well...
Could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I shouldn't have. Let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove, who is about your age. Cove, that seemed like a strange name for an actual living person to you, but definitely the kind of name someone like this guy would give their kid. We moved in, Cove's dad, we moved in across the street, see? He gestured toward the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be Kira Mikos, right? I met your moms earlier and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid. You'll like him.
Do you mind?
But you've got to keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendships? Had your moms done that for you and Lizzie? The thought made you frown. What do you say, want to make a deal? You didn't want the money. I don't want to be paid for that. It's too weird. He deflated enough to notice, but not completely.
Are you sure?
It won't be so bad, even if it's just for the summer. That'd be enough. That only made the sound more strange to you. Why does it, lasting for the summer, matter? When it was clear his initial strategy wasn't going to fly, he tucked the bill into the back pocket and changed the request. I get it, you don't have to. Would you be comfortable with he and I coming by for a normal visit, no money involved? You'd have to ask my mom's. His smile got bigger again, his eyes crinkled at the sides. Of course, they invited us over earlier, but I'd like to ask you too. Then I guess you can. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted him to meet and greet with the neighbors today, but, well, I don't know where he's gotten off to. He laughed when he said that, but with the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. If you see him, can you tell him to come on home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss it. I can try. You nodded, not totally certain that you could find Cove, but willing to look. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head, paused before doing so, then pulled his hand away instead. Your moms are already checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. Now I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting here. I thought he might come back, and that's not what's important. I have to go. Thanks again, Kara, so much. He jogged off down the street without another word. You decided to check the hills behind your house. Step 1, first sight. The chirping of crickets in the tall grass greeted you quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. You've always loved the ocean. It was so much fun. Sometimes Lizzie would join you, the two of you splashing each other in the waves. Those were the best days. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try to relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have pink casts. But this new boy did. You wondered how he got it. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another, and he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something the man earlier had said stuck out to you. Here, Cove? Eyes wide, he studied you. How did you know that? I met your dad. So, is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. You can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knee again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Let's see. Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents, they don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave and he took me with him, and now we have a house here, and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffed and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. Your dad seems kind of nice. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. It must be hard for Cove living here without his mom, but at least he still had a parent who cared about him. But from way off in the distance you heard your parents. Mommy. Kara.
Cove?
Mom. Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. It will be okay. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not gonna all be fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really, really need him. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself up to your feet. Slowly Cove stood up with you, still looking at, a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked toward the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm.
Sorry.
I still don't want to go. You called out yourself. Wanting to go home, you raised your own voice. Over here. Cove's face soured. He said nothing, but his thoughts were probably pretty nasty at that moment. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly all their eyes landed on you and they rushed over. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Kira, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Mommy gave Cove a small smile, and then she turned back to you. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. You shrugged. He's new here, it was okay. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Kira knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. We should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove.
Bye.
The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper play date tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Sure, can I show him my stuff?
Of course.
Then okay. Both your moms laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Choose your feelings for Cove. This is how you feel towards Cove for this step. It can change in later steps. Let's go direct. So we've got crush, fond, and indifferent. Let's just say indifferent for right now. Direct indifference. Let's go. Direct fondness. Do I want that one? What if I go relaxed indifference? Well, right now, well, let's try direct indifferent. Early the next morning, you were poking at your food, eating it slowly. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Kira? Maybe we can become friends.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Your bowl was entirely empty, so you nodded. Good job. He should be here soon. Clean up again, and then on cue there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Kira, could you get it? Because Mom said so, you wandered over to the door. Hey, Miko's family, thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him, Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. You studied Cove apathetically. This was the parents' plan, not yours. Not seeming any more excited than you were, he just stared back. You twisted the threaded bracelet on your wrist. Do you want to go play in your room, Kira? Sure. Come on, it's upstairs.
Okay. Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids.
See you.
See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There was lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. I drew that. Cool. You smiled at him. You were proud that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around at the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You hoped he liked your room. You had put a lot of effort into making your room as nice as it was. You hoped he didn't say anything bad about it. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you collected tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cole flopped down next to it. I think so, yeah, see? You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Oh right, I almost forgot. Shiloh was going to be here today. Shiloh? Lizzie's friend, or like her #1 fan, I guess. Do I have to see him? It should be okay, I mean, he's Lizzie's friend, not mine, but you know. Come on, check out my shells some more. I found this one under a big piece of seaweed that had washed ashore, and you pulled out a seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. They were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. Like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back into the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost a twin to his home. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, even if it was only directed at the shells. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident. Not that a parent made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room ready for Shiloh's visit. Two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Bust it open. We can keep looking while we wait for Shiloh. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken out loud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. That's my favorite too. Cove smiled at you and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades of dark and light orange. If you held it to your ear, you could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since a person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell that what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be all right. He's here. We can't tell him to leave. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked on the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. Shiloh is the least scary person alive. Every single bunny rabbit is scarier than Shiloh. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. You encouraged him. Hey, if you do have a hard time with him, I'll tell him to leave. Is that okay? Okay. Shiloh poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he heard what you'd been saying or not, but you guess he had. Hi, Kira. And hi, Cove. Cove shot you an uneasy glance. I'm Shiloh. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Right, I do. What are you guys doing? We're looking at shells.
Can I do it too?
Awesome. Cove shrugged and looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least, as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else. Hey, check out this scallop shell I found. Cool, right? It's a pretty color, kind of like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
I like those colors too. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yeah, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really, you do too, right, Kara? The park is fun. The park is pretty great. It's right at the beach, so there's a lot of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know, I never really wanted to see her, I just wanted to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go, it was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your mom, said it was so short she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Kira, Shiloh. Hi. She dropped at the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You weren't sure if this was an improvement. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Walk into my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured wildly with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove whispered in your ear quiet enough that the others wouldn't overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills. You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Kira's age?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth.
Oh.
For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people, like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why, we haven't done anything. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring at Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Kira in school. You'll see tons of kids there when summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort, how weird she thought Cove was at something else entirely. You didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird, Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet and get used to it. That's right. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and beach were. That first summer you hadn't really been interested in him one way or the other. He was just kind of a fact of life, someone you met with because he was there. Of course, that was only the start of things. Moment select. Which one do we want? So we've got shopping, grown up, long day, sandcastle, fireflies. Let's do a sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with this cast. The waves washed a single shell ashore, glittering and blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you heard about Cole's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something just to get off his arm. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go into the sea. This town wasn't bad, it had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said out loud what you'd been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry, you're going to be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids.
Yeah.
Swimming might be fun if we could, but it's not like there's anything we can do about it. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water, but as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff. Okay. He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle. This is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a castle. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a big fancy castle. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you built. It seems you had done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of the shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a green piece of sea glass. It was the best fit for your castle, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly, so you put it in a funny place where it'd take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. You decided not to look. You instead watched some clouds go by. The silence was broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
It's good, that's smart. You should be an architect. You're good at it, Shiloh. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for the current topic. Kira, can I see what you did? Sure. He began surveying your work. The castle you built was pretty impressive, all things considered. It had archways, tall walls, and even a little moat circling it. You probably feel safe living there. Maybe your moms were the queens. Shiloh quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey, Kira, what did you do? This is my castle. Shiloh didn't look so happy anymore. You both built castles?
Yeah. Aw.
That's neat. How you guys match. It's too bad we didn't all do it. Next time we should. Wouldn't that be boring? If something is only one of that thing that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm very special.
Why?
Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time I came to this beach. I didn't want to. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, Kira? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you considered Cove's question. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued.
Oh.
Well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Karen's parents and my dad met the same day I met her. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh found himself ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things that they want is important too. You stayed silent and let Cove finish his story. Shiloh could talk about stuff after Cove had a chance to share what he planned on. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us, only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in the car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there. The ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you going to finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Okay. What is it? What? You said that in a weird way. I don't think I did. Cove narrowed his eyes at you, suspicious. Shallow's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cole's shoulders.
Well...
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brow furrowed a little more as he quickly raked his hand through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shiloh, fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand, had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Why are you always turning so red even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment, and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this, perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh, a huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove.
Who asked you to come?
It was probably just your dad bugging Kira's family some more because you don't have anyone else who will ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing you'd get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too, I was just wondering. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. The day is going to be over soon. Akira, you're right. The sun is going down so fast. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shadow's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shadow's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least you tried to do something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shallow's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, it stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But with Shallow gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together toward the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed a familiar landmark, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect using. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You asked Cove what he's thinking. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask. Hey Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face. I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that when I said he was all red a lot? He gets embarrassed. Embarrassed, but I didn't say anything that bad. It might have upset him anyway. I guess I can get it. Why would he do that? Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. What Shiloh said didn't make sense anyway. Parents always talk to other parents and set up stuff so their kids can play together. My dad didn't do anything weird. You struggled not to make a face at that. His dad definitely did something weird to try to get you to spend time with Cove, but Cove didn't know that. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I knew the whole time Shiloh shouldn't have been saying things like that. You nodded, but you didn't speak. You kept your eyes firmly on the ground. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Bye, Cove. Your parents hadn't planned anything else for you, though you knew that you'd see him eventually. Cove nodded, already turning away. Bye, Kira. You made your way to your house at a leisurely pace, going up the driveway to get to the front door. Before you went inside, you looked back. Cove was halfway to his house, his hands shoved into his pockets. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You might change your mind sometime. There's always tomorrow after all. But for now, it was definitely something that you'd keep to yourself. With a final look, you went inside your house. All right, so we finished the sandcastle one, and part 2. We will choose another one for part 2. So for now, I'm going to save. And there, so we did the save. All right.